Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Noel Zone. This is Contact. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. I'm sorry about the early live stream, but I had two options. Either do the live stream now or not do one at all. But then after what I said last week, if I didn't come on and do a live stream, I would be a bit of a hypocrite. So I'm here doing the live stream early. It's out of my hands. I've got to go and meet some people and stuff like that. As you know, there's a lot going on in my country, but I'm going to keep the politics out of it. I have sent an email to Cinnamon. He does know, and luckily for me, he saw it in time and he's able to come on. So we're able to get this stream out to us. Also, Christian won't be with us. He's doing a bit of stuff for the election, so it'll just be myself and Cinnamon coming on. So just I'll give him a few minutes because it is short notice, and it's brilliant that he can actually come on. So fantastic. So if you could do us a favor, like the stream, share it, please, as well. I'm going to do that myself now because some people probably won't know that I'm on, so I better do that. Probably be a good idea, wouldn't it? But yeah, so I'm on the wrong channel. Hold on. Second health. There we go. Right. It'll come up that I'm live. It should. Okay. Yeah, can I just say something as well? The Flight of the Navigator stream that I did the movies on with John a couple of years ago is still getting views, but people are under the impression that the movie is there and are giving out to me because the movie is not there. It clearly says it's a watch along. Like, well, we can't put the movie on YouTube. You all know the copyright rules on YouTube. So can people, like, still 2 years down the line, people, oh, I come in here expecting the movie and it's not here. How dare you? All of this. And I'm like, we discuss what we're watching. We can't put the movie. But everybody knows this, but everybody acts as if it's like, you know, I've conned everybody. I haven't. We've been doing this for years on this channel, but it's the highest viewed stream on this channel. It's fucking crazy. If I could put Flight of the Navigator up in the corner there in a little screen while I was reacting to the movie, I would love to do that if I thought I could get away with it. But I wouldn't get away with it. The stream would be taken down straight away. So, you know, if these film companies relaxed it, see, you know, the bigger streamers, people don't realize the bigger streamers get sponsorship, right? And then some companies will work with those streamers. That's just the way it works. They'll work with those streamers. So they let them and allow them to put some of their content up on their channels. Small little channels like me don't get the same benefits. So if I did that, I get punished for it. So that's the way it goes. Anyway, let's bring Cinnamon on. And as I said, very sorry that this is, but I had two options: either do the stream or let you down again. And I wasn't going to let you down again. As I said, I've got a schedule now. We're sticking to that schedule. And I'm not going to, if I have to move a stream around, it'll still be on the day that I said it'll be on. You know what I mean? Unless it's impossible, but then it'll be the next day, which will get you our 3 streams. Anyway, let's bring them on because I'm not alone. And this will be interesting because the two of us, Christian is obviously doing a bit of stuff for the election, Cinnamon. So it's just the two of us today. But I suppose I want to probably start off because I actually watched Alien Romulus. Yeah, I actually watched it. Oh my God, what can I say? Right, Ridley Scott. Right, all I'm just going to say to you is, by God, man, just stop now. Right, but we know you're not going to stop because you're bringing out your sequel to your first great movie, Gladiator, and you're doing Gladiator 2. But by God, mate, you have to stop. Yeah, you have to stop now, right? Seriously, okay? Yes, we're all hungry for an Alien franchise if it was done properly. But by God, right, there's so many plot holes in the whole franchise now that you haven't even answered now, and it's added on with this fucking movie, right? And by the way, I don't know who did your casting, but not one of those cast members were likable. And Ripley Light is what I'm calling her. I mean, there's one scene in this movie and it's absolutely ridiculous. But the bullshit that Ridley Scott is trying to make us believe what happened at the very start of this movie is just give it over, please. Right? As James Cameron, you're the same. Just stop. Right? Steven Spielberg, stop. You all need to stop. You've had yours a day. And there's nothing wrong with that. We love your movies. Right? We really do. But you're ruining the legacy of them with this. The movie had some good moments, right? But what I got from it was a poor copy of Alien. Right? They tried to recapture the intense atmosphere and all of that. But the difference is the cast that was cast for Alien was likable. Whereas none of these pricks that you had in the movie were likable. And why the fuck were they all so young looking? You're making me believe that these so-called, as I call them, kids, even though they weren't kids, but they look like kids, were working on a mining colony. No way, man. There was so much unbelievable. I did like the xenomorphs, of course. Who doesn't like an owl alien, right? I mean, but there's a stupid part at the end. I'm not even going to ruin it for you, right? But one of the women is pregnant in this movie, right? And she gets attacked by a xenomorph, right? And then she gives birth to this fucking, I don't know what you'd want to call it, but it's the most ridiculous thing that I have seen on screen. Now, I had a few drinks on me last night. It's the only reason why I watched it, because I swore I wasn't going to watch this movie. But I said, you know what, feck it, have a few drinks on me, why not? I might get a laugh while I'm watching it, right? And by God, right, the first hour of that movie just fucking dragged on. I was like, come on already. And then when it finally does happen, some of the sequences are just absolutely ridiculous. And that CGI, I don't want to ruin it for it. Is anybody going to watch it, actually? I don't want to really ruin it, but there's a CGI of someone who's famous in the Alien franchise, and it's just so poorly done. It's just so, man, there's so much potential with this. There really was, though. But to me, it just felt like a rip-off of Alien, but a poorly done rip-off. So Ridley, all of you directors, listen, give it over, right? Fuck off, right? Bleeding Alien, man, it's real. Listen, it's kind of lucky that I only always have said, look, I'll get stick for this. Right, there are 4 original movies, right? No matter what you think of Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, I actually think this movie is worse, in fairness. Now, I'm not saying you should automatically go out and watch Alien 3 and Resurrection. By right, there's only 2 Alien movies, Alien and Aliens. Let's be honest. They're the two that reached the heights that the other movies never did. I did like Alien versus Predator when they did that, but that's the sequel. I wanted all of those movies since the Predator movies and the Alien stuff hasn't been good. It hasn't been good, and we deserve better. But this is what happens when you have these old directors when they've nothing new. They're tired and they're old, and they think, do you know what? Maybe I'll do a sequel to my movie. I mean, if Steven Spielberg comes out and does a sequel to E.T., right, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out, right? Because there's been rumors since the first movie of a sequel. It's always been there. Actually, there's information actually on the second movie. E.T. was going to come back and he was going to be evil and shit, right? And it was all a ploy to kidnap the kids and all of this. It was really going to go down the dark route for the sequel, right? With the way these directors and Hollywood's going, Cinnamon, you know what I mean? They're talking about sequels and remakes. Could you imagine if they tried to do E.T. 2 now?
I mean, I don't know what they could do with it. I mean, it's one of those films, isn't it? And there's a lot of films that are just one movie things. You know, you don't look at Titanic and expect a sequel, even though people thought there would be. You know, there's just certain things. I think it's horror movies as well. There just seems to be a thing with that genre where it works the first time, it's amazing, it's different, and then like it just turns into sort of reliving past glories and trying to recapture the same thing, but then not working. Like the only example I can think of, maybe that the exception to the rule, was the Friday the 13th series, and I haven't watched all of them, but I did watch the first 3. I don't know, it was Halloween and it was a couple of years ago, and they were on something. It was on some. I watched them somehow, and the second and the third one I quite liked more than the first one because you actually saw Jason, and they sort of delved and explored and opened it up a bit more. Whereas something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's had endless remakes and sequels, and like after the first one, it's like, well, what more can you do with it? And it's again with Jaws. I mean, that's more thriller, isn't it? Than I suppose horror movie. But you know, you got the concept, and then you keep doing it, and you know, okay, what you're gonna have a bigger and bigger shark each and every. You know, how do you up the ante? You know, I don't know. It's just a thing with horror movies. I think it just seems to, you know, there's gonna come a point where how long can you keep doing it? I've not seen the Alien films. I've watched Predator, but I've never seen Alien movies. I did see the trailer for Alien Romulus though, because obviously I was watching a Rabbi stream a few months ago, and he did show it, and it looked quite okay. I don't know if you saw it, you probably did, but I don't know. It just seemed like, you know, trailers can hype it up, or they can, you know. I think he liked it because it had a lot of suspense in it. It was like screened.
The trailer, I did see the trailer, and what I can tell you from the trailer is, without spoiling anything, is you probably got the best bits in the trailer. Now, they used to do that for movies that were crap. They'd put in the best bits of the trailer, and then you'd go hyped about this movie, and you'd go and watch it, and then you'd realise it was a big disappointment. Look, it had its moments, right? But the problem with Ridley Scott is he's trying to recreate, because Prometheus and Alien Covenant were actually, you know, there was negative feedback about those movies. Now, I have a soft spot for Prometheus. I'm not going to lie. I actually do like it. You know, it does have its issues, Prometheus. I'm not going to lie, but we should have got a direct sequel. Not Alien Covenant. Look, the engineers thing, no matter what people say, would that have been an interesting route to go down? Yes. Now, I know Ridley Scott made the complaint, well, people just want to see the xenomorph all the time, right? But you could have done, the plan was to branch off and do those kind of films alongside this Prometheus kind of exploring all of that. But it never materialized because Alien Covenants just basically wrecked the whole lot. It nearly killed the franchise. I'm surprised they brought Ridley Scott back and given him the money to do it again. Now, this was an attempt, in my opinion, to kind of correct what's come before. But to me, it's just a poor copy of Alien. It has its moments, yes. I'm not going to lie, of course it does. But is it what we should be getting? I've got to say, you know, this whole thing, who created the xenomorphs, once you went down that route, you are done for, in my opinion. The whole thing about them was, we didn't know where they came from. That was the whole point of them. That's why they were scary. We didn't know where they came from. In the first movie, when they find that ship, we don't know where they came from, right? And this is the whole point. He tried to explain all of that, but while explaining it now, he's left massive plot holes all over the place. It's like he hasn't thought it through.
Yeah, I've not, like I said, I've not even seen the films. But
look, I'm not going to tell anybody not to watch it. Right? Bottom line is, did I think it lived up to the hype? No. Do I think it's a worthy movie in the franchise? Personally speaking, no. If I'm saying that Alien Resurrection is better than this, then that tells you all you need to know. Because Alien Resurrection, let's be honest, is a fucking abomination, right? Alien 3, I mean, if you watch the director's cut, the Dave Fincher cut, it's better than the cinema release, I should say, right? But that movie still had its problems as well, but that was more studio interference more than anything else. That wasn't, like, Dave Fincher gets the blame for that, but it wasn't really Dave Fincher. He would have gave us a fucking, I mean, some of the things that he speaks about that were left out of that movie would have been very, very fucking interesting, like. Do you know what I mean? It would have been a great fucking movie if it was done properly. But studios always stick their noses in. But in this case, it's Ridley Scott. It's definitely Ridley Scott. Because the direction wasn't bad in this movie. But some scenes that you see in it, do you know, even in Alien, where is it Alien? Well, she does it in the two movies. But do you know when she puts the spacesuit on to have the battle with the alien? The Queen or whatever in the first movie, the alien in the first movie. Yeah, same thing happens in this. It's a carbon copy, just little details are slightly different. So I saw through it. It was just member berries and stuff like that. And I don't know what story he's trying to tell now. I actually really don't, because then I'm not going to say that, but it's fucking, look, there was one scene in the movie that's absolutely ridiculous. And when you see it for yourselves, you just say, yeah, we don't need that, but bullshit. You know what I mean? I mean, it's deliberately putting in stuff just to kind of get the audience on the edge of their seat, but it's so fucking manufactured and it's so poor that it doesn't come across well. But look, there's a TV show to come as well. I will watch that. I am an Alien fan, by the way. I prefer the Alien franchise over the Predator franchise, to be quite honest with you. But the Alien franchise has been, being honest, if we're all being honest, the first two movies were the high point, and everything that's came after that has been a shadow. I mean, for me personally, the closest is Alien versus Predator, and that had Predator in the movie, but I'm talking about the extended cut of the movie.
Even something like that is like a good idea. You know, you think of, like, I mean, the crazy sort of ideas, you know, like Freddy versus Jason. You know, you pick like two big iconic characters together, and you know, there are quite wild ideas, but you know, it's something new, it's something interesting. But if it's like you said, it's just a carbon copy, and you watch it and you think, oh, you're just trying to tell us, oh, do you remember that scene in the first movie? This is like that. Well, what's the point then? It's just a waste of money. I may as well go watch the original one. If the whole point of that film is just to sort of say, well, hang on, isn't this like that? And hey, guys, don't you remember? I mean,
do you know what, though, Cinnamon? The interesting thing is, sorry, I'll let you speak now, but see the promotion of this movie right? It was very the tonally, it was very reminiscent of the Alien movie, the first Alien movie. So they try to kind of frame it that way. Well, if you like Alien, right, this is what this is it, even with the promotion, people should have been wired and says, no, this is just a cash grab, because that's what this feels like. It's like, let's throw in similar scenes that people say that have watched the franchise and know oh yeah, I remember that. You're exactly right. That's exactly the way it was, and I think we deserve better.
Yeah, because it's essentially. I mean, I'm assuming that it's canon. It's in the same universe. It's in the same story. So it's sort of a remake, but it's still like connected, because it's essentially treading old ground again, doing the old iconic scenes. Oh, look, it's fighting the alien, the creature. Oh, it's doing
Yeah,
this
if
just
I'm
like it was in the
correct,
first film.
if
Again,
I'm correct,
sorry, have you? You've just got. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I'm correct, I think it's set a few years after Prometheus. How many years after Prometheus? They say it in the movie, but it's a few years, because when they mention Prometheus in the movie, the Prometheus music comes in. Like, it's one of the moments that I actually did like in it, but it was a member berry. It was definitely a member berry, but it was a nice member berry, if you know what I mean. Because I have a soft spot for that movie. I won't, you know what I mean? I know it has its problems, but I will defend that movie, like, because, it does have its issues, but I did like it. But this is what I'm saying. It just, the dates are all over. So someone actually put this whole thread up on X. And like, when you read what he's written, it's like, there's so many plot. It's like what RTD is done with Doctor Who and Chibnall did with Doctor Who. There's so many fucking plot holes now that if you were walking along, you'd fall down one of them. It's that bad.
They make things too complicated these days to try and be clever. Like, if it's so interweaving, and if it's so they try and make it bigger and more than it needs to be, and they're just, again, because a lot of these people are hiring just simply aren't good enough. You have these issues where you have plot holes. I think when it comes to remakes or just anything in general like that, if you've got something, especially with games a lot as well, if you're going to remake something, keep what the original had, but then try and expand upon it. Improve it. I dare say that's what they do with these box sets to do.
That's what I think they believe they did with this movie, and that's the sad thing about it. I don't fault the director. I think the direction of this movie, I have to say, is reminiscent of Alien. It's very well. The director does a good job with what he's given. So I can't argue about his direction. It is Ridley Scott, because when you see Ridley Scott's name on it, he was very protective. He didn't want your man, that director, to actually finish the Ripley story, which that's what Alien fans actually want. And he's denying us with all of this bullshit, right? We wanted the Ripley. Look, when Bill Paxton was still around and all, we could have got that, right? We could have got that. They could have found some way of bringing them all back, like, you know what I mean? It was going to be, we were going to go back to Earth and all of this shit. Newt was going to be older, Hicks was alive, that's the movie we wanted. That's the movie we wanted. And this is why we're getting all this shit, because he doesn't want anybody else to. It's kind of selfish, if you ask me. Listen,
if you're
he should be delighted. Like when James Cameron did the sequel, right? I hate to think that he was bitter over the sequel. He's expanded on your idea, and he's brought in another successful movie in the franchise, right? But he seems to be a bit of a control freak over it, and I don't like that. Like, if someone has a great idea, Ridley, let them go with it. It's expanding on your, you have input, of course you do, but we've heard this during our movies. There was talk of him being a little bit of a dictator on set. He wanted things done his way. It was his way of reasserting his control over the franchise, and I'm sorry. You made a great first movie, and without that movie, we wouldn't have got the sequel, and you'll always be thanked for that. But give someone else a go. Give someone else a go. You never know, Ridley. They might surprise you, like James Cameron did, right? And actually do a movie that's justice to the franchise. That's all we want. That's all we want. And I didn't feel like I got that. There was no emotion. Listen, when I watch Alien, someone asked me what XSM asked me was it scary, right? I still find Alien creepy, right? You know, in Aliens, the scene where they come across the bodies and the alien breaks out of your woman's chest. She's asking for help, and that freaks me out. There was none of those moments, even when the chest breaker broke out. It didn't have the same impact. I didn't feel anything for these people. Right, you felt sorry for your woman that screamed, "Get me down, get me down, get me down," and the next of all, they think she's taking a convulsion, and then the alien pops out of her fucking chest. They're all traumatized. Even me as a kid, I'm like, I'm looking at this, what the hell? But even in the first movie, right? Do you know when your man takes his cap off? What's his name? Not Parker, is it the other fella? Right? And he takes his cap off, and the water's dripping down, and then the alien comes down on top of him. That scared the shit out of me. There was nothing. They tried to recreate that, but because it's been done before, it doesn't have the same impact. And then added to that, if you don't like the cast, I didn't look at it. Wasn't Diversity Central or anything like that, right? But it just felt like all of these actors and actresses that they got to play the roles I didn't believe them like I believed Ellen Rip, all the actors and actresses that were in the first movie, Dallas, all of that. Like, I felt for all of them when something happened to them. I felt absolutely nothing when all of these guys. Actually, I was kind of cheering on the alien, and then Ripley Light manages to but Ripley Light, right? And I'm just like, get the fucking ball, get away, man. Just get away. Like, you just give it up, Ridley. Sorry, man. I know I'm ranting about it, but do you know what? I've waited years for a decent alien movie, right? And like some, I don't completely bash the third movie. I do bash the fourth one because it's a bastardization of everything that we like about the Alien franchise, let's be honest. But that movie kind of set it up for all of this genetics crap that we've seen with Ridley Scott do now. And that's why I fucking hate that movie. But the third movie, I will give it a pass, especially the director's cut, as I said, because there were moments in that. And there were some sequences in that movie, the lead works, that were fucking brilliant. I don't care what anybody says. It mightn't have been a perfect movie, but there were some deadly scenes in that movie. So I give that one a pass. But it's such a shame. It's such a shame because there was potential here. And, they've kind of blown it, in my opinion, but they're flogging this TV show. So, I think it's a TV show, Alien TV show. I don't know how that's going to work. Cinnamon, that even sounds like a stupid idea. Like if it was a cartoon or something, or an adult animation, alien animation, you could kind of get it. Do you know what I mean? But a TV show about the xenomorphs, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, if it's like, you were saying earlier, isn't it more creepy to sort of leave it as, not about these creatures? It's more scary to know that, like, oh yeah, out there in the universe, out there in space, there are these creatures that could attack any spaceship or anything like that, or infiltrate at any moment. And if it's like you say, they're going to go down some sort of route where they're saying that, oh, actually, there might not be naturally born creatures from a different planet. No, they're just some sort of creation made by some bloke. It ruins it, isn't it? If it's the position again. If I like Event Horizon, you got me into that. Actually, it's because of you that I watched that, and you watch it, and imagine at the end of it, they went like, oh yeah, it wasn't because of some supernatural devil that crossed into another universe. Oh no, it was just the manufacturers made the ship just go mental, and it was always going to go mental, and that was the plan from the beginning to drive up stock market or whatever. Some nonsense like that. It would ruin it. It wouldn't be like, well, there wasn't a real devil. They were all high or whatever, or the gas in the spaceship sent everyone mad. It ruined the whole point of it. I've seen a few theories about that film. about like how the ship isn't actually haunted. It's all in their minds and stuff. And like, okay, I get it, but it ruins the film. It's keep the fear factor in it. Keep it mysterious. It's the same with the Weeping Angels. If you even try and explain where they come from, or reduce them to making them a taxi service or anything like that, you lose the fear factor. You have to keep the mystery of like, well, who the hell was that, and where did they come from, and how do they do these things? And it's body horror as well. Like you say, if you've got something that happens to somebody, it's usually quite scary. I remember watching a film. I don't know if anyone really remembers it. Called Antlers. It came out a couple of years ago, and it was like quite scary. And it had a character, and you could see him, and he wasn't a likable character. I think he was a drug addict or something like that, and he had a son or something like that, and he was slowly over time sort of changing into sort of like the I don't know. It's all sort of the old Native American. I think that was the whole premise of the film. It's like an old Native American, like like what's the word? Like Wendigo kind of thing, where you sort of eventually turn into some sort of creature, and you can sort of see it slowly, just sort of turn feral and like mutate and contort, and it was all horrible. And it was like watching that, so I was like, oh god, it was generally quite unsettling, especially when you see him just sort of like attack his own kid's friends. It was like his kid was getting bullied and he just ripped the kid apart or whatever. Stuff like that is quite unsettling. And it's suspense, like you said. It's part of the problem, because I haven't watched the Alien movies, but I do know that in the first one it isn't revealed straight away. It's a bit like again, another one, The Quiet Place, that everyone talks about. I haven't seen those either, but the first one, it's built up because you don't know what the monster looks like. Maybe you have to find out right at the end, and then in subsequent sequels, they've now got a new one that's just come out called A Quiet Place Day Zero, and it shows like the whole. I think it shows like the whole like how they came to Earth, and you can see like loads and thousands of them, and you hear how they invaded the planet and stuff like that, maybe. And it's just gone. Okay, maybe it's a good film. I haven't seen it. It looked interesting. I think I was going to go see it, but I hadn't seen the other
watched
one.
the first two movies myself, The Quiet Place. They were out now a while before I watched them, but one night I got bored. I said, I'll put the first one on, see what it's all about. And as soon as it started, I was actually engrossed, because obviously it starts off with them tippy-toeing around. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then there's a scene in it where you don't see the creatures, but you hear the kid does something and fecks up, and then the kid gets taken away, but you don't, you know what I mean? It's quite, and I was like, yeah, I like this. So I watched the second part, and it was all right, but I'm getting confused now, because I thought that was day one, and now this new movie or something is day one, so I'm confused.
That's actually quite, but you look at that and you think, well, that's an interesting idea, because you start off, if it's like you said, you watch the movie, and like they establish like, why aren't these people talking? Or if you were to watch a movie where something like that happens, there's something going on. They're acting in a strange way, or there's this thing that's happening, but you don't know why. And it's a sort of ongoing mystery. And you say, well, hang on, why are they doing that? Why are they all walking around not talking to each other, or anything like that? That's then, you're sort of captivated by that. And you're like, well, what's going on then? And then you realize, okay, yeah, this is to be quiet, because there's these creatures that have got this like ultra hearing ability. Stuff like that is interesting. Keeps the suspense, because you sat there thinking, well, why are they doing this? What's going on? You sort of like, it's like, it's like a sort of a joke that you're not in on, kind of thing. Whereas again, that doesn't seem to happen anymore, because either it gets explained straight away, or it's explained to death, or it's done to death, or for this 10. I mean, come on, do we really need like 10? Friday the 13th movies? I mean, when you're getting Jason in space or whatever it was, I mean, is it? Come on, you've got to look at that and think, well, it's getting silly now. Maybe that was the point. Okay, maybe it's just a daft thing. It was silly, but it's it's gone by that point, isn't it? It's the same thing with the Terminator franchise. I've not seen that either. Maybe they do explain why, for a Terminator, for a super fighting machine, why does he constantly look old? And that's the thing, because Terminator isn't really nothing without Arnold Schwarzenegger, is it? Do they actually explain why he looks older? I'm sure there's got to be some sort of in-universe reason.
They do.
Right,
Yeah,
so
they do.
they do. It's just like I mean, I hear from even fans of that franchise. They say like it's kind of like just dormant. It's like, is it dead? I don't know. It's just there. It's not nothing's really been done with it. I don't know. It's like a creativity. Even now they're going back to old films. Next year, I mentioned it before. There's 28 years later now. It's a third film. It's a sequel to a movie that we haven't had a sequel to that franchise for nearly 17 years, and it's only now just finally getting greenlit. To come out next year, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, I enjoyed those movies, even the second one. If anything, I prefer that one more. I just think, we seem to be lacking creativity these days. It's all about remakes. I mean, do you remember that remake they tried to do of RoboCop? No,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it. I didn't see it, but I saw that it exists.
Oh no, I watched it. I watched it.
A really past.
I mean, the only good thing about that movie was Michael Keaton, and that's all I'm going to say on it. No, if you want to watch RoboCop, even the shitty TV movies that they made, you remember, they were better than this heap of crap. But yeah, we have been the Hollywood. It's been mentioned that Hollywood over the next couple of years now are going to focus on remakes and sequels. And if I was again, I'd just say you're going down the wrong avenue here. Cinnamon is spot on. It does show there is definitely a lack of creativity, but there's a lack of creativity everywhere. We've been talking about this for years. You think the lads in Hollywood would kind of say, do you know what? We've pandered to this lot enough now. We've lost billions. We're all going to be out of work if we continue. Come on, I've got a mad idea. Let's hire people that are actually talented. Wouldn't that be rogue? Wouldn't that be stunning and brave? But I don't think any of them have the fucking backbone to do it.
Just give people what they want. I don't even think it's really even that hard. I think, the control freaks out there. Okay, even if you have an opinion of where to take something, and you've got the majority of the fan base that disagrees with you, or the majority of the fan base wants a certain thing, and you're like, well, I don't know, but just give them what they want. Okay, put your pride aside. Clearly, there's a market. There's a lot of people who want a certain thing. Again, we've both played the games, Red Dead Redemption. First one came out, and of course, afterwards, everyone was like, well, what happened to the gang? How did it all fall apart? How did these people get to where they got? And the sequel came out, which takes place before, and then that tells the story of how the gang fell apart. And that was what people wanted, and that was what people got. Just give people what they got. It's actually really not that hard. There's a map that they'll tell you what they want, and okay, so yes, sometimes as fans we don't actually know what we want ourselves. That is true, because sometimes we'll get things, and then we don't like it, or sometimes we'll get things that we want that wasn't. Again, it'd be like Brexit. People wanted it, but the version they got isn't quite what they wanted. It'd be something like that. They'll want a version of it, but then it gets bastardized or whatever. It's just, listen to feedback. Stop treating everyone who's vaguely critical as the enemy, or just a troll, or just a hater. I mean, again, I shouldn't have to say this, but all the backlash that we've given maybe to Doctor Who or anything like that, it is from a position of caring about it. It's not. People just think, oh, you're mourning for mourning's sake, and yeah, maybe some people are for clicks and views and for the revenue. But I'm not doing it for clicks and views and the revenue because, well, that is just not happening for me. I mourn because I care. We all care. We all want to see things that can be done with whatever particular franchise that we care about. There's lots of franchises that I care about. Fable, I've spoken about that. I wanted to. I didn't want that to die a death, and thankfully now it's coming back in a new iteration. There's new movies. There's the sequels. Next year is actually looking quite good. I've said this before. There's a lot of things that I'm interested in, and there's a lot of new games or new entries into franchises that I like. So, just give people what they want. It's, but it's at the time you mentioned it earlier. studio interference. There'll be times where developers will want to make something. They'll want to keep it faithful because the people who make these games are gamers themselves, and they'll want to go and make it into it. They want to go in a certain direction, but then the higher ups, the suits are like, well, now we want to do this, and it's like, well, do people want that? Is that what people? Do people ask for this? Like, again, it's a repeating pattern. I keep saying it all the time. Something comes out, and they target it up and try and make it a big deal, and say, "Oh, isn't this amazing?" And everyone's like, "No, not really." Did anyone actually ask for this? Like, did anyone want this? Who sits there? Like, did anyone need this explanation to that, or did anyone need a whole movie dedicated to this one pointless character? Like, it's just a lot of questionable decisions that are just constantly happening, and it's a recurring cycle we just can't seem to break. And then you get the odd good thing that is crept in there, like you do get the odd good thing, because it's just Hollywood right now, and just movies, video games, whatever. Everything's just remakes that are terrible, sequels that are pointless, or really bad adaptations. And then again, you get the odd little gem, like the Fallout series, and everyone's saying how good it was. There are a few gems sprinkled in there. We had Charlotte on last Wednesday for the Twisters movie. I don't know, it's a film about natural disasters or something. And there was just no agenda in that. It's just it's just a good sort of pick, a good film that is just there to tell a story, and there you go. And if it might still be a bad film, but it could be a good film. But as long as you try to make a good film, because if you try and make a good film and you fail, well, at least you can say you tried. But if you try and make a good film, if you try and make a good film and fail, well, at least you tried. But if you're going to,
and the audience won't knock you for that either, though. That's the thing.
But if you're going to sort of making something with an agenda or a point to prove or a message, then you're not going it as simple as that. Whether you agree with that message or not, if that's just your sole focus, even if you believe in all that nonsense, is that really a good? Because it's like, okay, well, once you've got your message out there, but when you actually look at the product itself, is there much depth there? Is there much actually there to satisfy it? Or have you just got like 10% story and then like 90% agenda? Oh, well, that's good. That's a good trade-off, isn't it? I mean, at least if you're going to have it in, at least have it 50-50. At least actually care about the about the project, not just the cherry on the top of the big cake or whatever it is you want it to be. It's just the whole swamp needs training. You just need people who actually, you can hire new people. You can have new ambitious ideas. You can try new blood. You can, we're quite open. We don't have, you can have, because there's two ways. You can either go too extreme one way and have everyone just come in and change and rip the whole thing up, and then it's no longer what it used to be. But then you can also go the other way, which is kind of what people like Russell are, and Ridley Scott with it. These people who maybe, but they're hanging on too tight, and it's like, well, your reluctance to sort of open up a bit, and in your greed of no, everything has to be done my way. Well, no, but allow more ideas. Because if you just sort of echo chamber where no, it has to be my way or the highway, then what kind of is there any good to that? I mean, if it's like one person, okay, it depends on what it is. If it's like Tolkien or something, Lord of the Rings, that is his vision. That's his thing. Or even George Lucas's Star Wars, I say that as well. It's his vision and stuff like that. Have a little bit of both. Have the middle ground. Have a good medium. Try new things, but you can have new things as long as they're new and they add to it, not take away. Because they try to say things, and sorry to mention it, but things at the time as child, they kept trying to argue, probably still do. Like, no, it adds to it. No, it doesn't add to it. You took things away and slipped it on underneath the foundation and tried to make it like it's new. No, you changed something there. You can add a new character to Star Wars. You can add a new sort of reason to things, or you can change certain things within reason. But as long as you add to it, there's a whole universe there. There's endless possibilities. But they always try and obsess over the past. You see it all the time. Star Wars does it. Doctor Who does it. A lot of these sort of like big franchises, probably Star Trek too. they always seem to go back for some reason. They always preach about, oh, it's all about the future, but they seem obsessed with going back in the past and legacy characters or legacy storylines and changing it. Bit weird
Yeah.
there, considering they always preach about, oh, we're not looking at the past, we're not looking backwards, we're looking forwards. Russell said it as well. For someone who keeps claiming, they don't talk about previous Doctors, you seem to go back and cherry pick old things from the past. Or it's these franchises that are getting sort of picked apart these days. They always seem to go in the past for some reason and change things. I don't know. I don't get it.
No, you're right. You're spot on. It's hypocritical from them because it's clear that they're obviously disgusted by some of the things of the past. And Chibnall was actually honest about it. In interviews, he actually said that he thought there was a lot of things in the classic era that were problematic, and he did try and in his own head, like you were problematic to him, but not the fans. But him and his team tried to rectify some of that, and I'm like, but like if it's not upsetting the fact that's your personal opinion, and this is the thing as well, isn't it, Brandon? That we have a lot of these directors, writers, like they're bringing their personal opinions into it. They're bringing their personal, ideas into, and they shouldn't. They should be thinking of the fans out there. You have to be, I'm not saying you shouldn't take risks. RTD in his Force era did take risks. So did especially Moffat. I think Moffat took a lot of risks, to be quite honest with you. But he didn't take the risks for the sake of taking the risks. He wanted them to lead somewhere. They didn't always, but he did try and, in fairness to Moffat, right, we do give him stick, but in fairness to Moffat, it's at least near the end he did try to tie up all the loose ends, but he did create a lot of them. So, But I hate that. Keep your personal shit out of it, your personal opinions, your personal politics, and just write a goddamn good story. It's not hard.
But, I said this earlier, like, again, if you're in a position of yourself, and let's say, like, I hate this. There's one thing about Doctor that I can't stand, but everyone else loves. Well, if everyone else likes it, then just leave it. Okay, you might not like it, and yes, you might be the one that's in charge. But what are you? Is that you're going to make a selfish decision? Well, I don't like it. I'm going to change it. Forget whether like the fact that millions of people like love it or the fact that it's a very core part. Again, I keep mentioning mentioning Dead Rising, but again, there are characters there, that have got genuine backstory and lore to that character. Again, in an apocalypse, because it's one of the few, zombie genre movies. Zombie genre has been done to death. But when you can make rich characters, it's not just these characters aren't just simple a boss fight. No, there's genuine story there, and like I keep beating it to death because I keep mentioning it, but I'll mention it again because it's a very important point. Because it's a certain character that was a Vietnam veteran, I think, and he's not very favourable to communists. That's probably why they changed it, because everyone's a communist these days, aren't they? And back in 2006, people used to not like communists, but then now everyone loves them. I don't know, but it is what it is. And they changed the character's dialogue from the original game because he's very anti-communist, and because of the trauma of being in an apocalypse and seeing his granddaughter die, it obviously sent him a bit mad. But that's his character. Like, just because, and even if he said something offensive, which he doesn't, he said something about Viet Cong, which has another history, but it wasn't. Apparently, it's not even a slur. And again, there was nothing really wrong with the dialogue. But even if there was, like, he's a mentally ill person in an apocalypse. He's not going to say the right thing, is he? There are people trying to kill each other. Are you going to censor that too? Like, that's the weird bit I have a problem with, because they've changed the dialogue now, and they've changed the cutscene, and they've censored things like women and their clothing, and like, okay, that's one thing, because that doesn't really impact the story. But now you are changing it, and it's a problem I have, because the game looks fantastic, and it's coming out next month, and it looks generally incredible. The graphics have really done a lot of good work with it, and they've added a few quality of life updates to it. and made it a bit more controlled, made it a bit more modern. And in some instances, and I even came on here and said, like, okay, well, in that context, it might have changed this because not because of any perceived wokeness, but more due to political tensions with a certain country, like was with the Asian butcher. He's fat and he's Asian. There's no stereotype there. And I had saw someone somewhere said, "Oh, search up racist Asian caricatures, or whatever the word is." Okay, I did that. I looked it up. Couldn't see anything of it. I couldn't see what they're talking about. As far as I saw it, he's just a fat Asian butcher who just so happens to be fat and Asian. Nothing particularly offensive about that, I don't think. But okay, you've changed that again. I think because it was something to do with his last name, and it was something to do with Taiwan. It wasn't. They tried to say that I think it was originally that his name was Chinese, and it wasn't. It was Taiwanese. Now they did the whole China-Taiwan thing. I think it was to do with that. Okay, fine. But then more and more stuff just keeps creeping out. Certain changes here to certain characters' line of dialogue, and it's like, well, the whole reason again for this Cliff character, his whole point, the whole reason to it is pointless now. They've just changed the whole line, and that line is very crucial to that character. For whatever reason, for a more modern audience, that's now ruined. Now it has absolutely no weight to it. It's not nowhere near as good as it originally was, and it's stuff like that can really change it. Because what is it now? Going to be a really stunning remake / remaster. They're not calling it a remake because it's still got the core features and things. They've not changed enough of it to be a remake, but they've changed a lot. But they've changed enough of it now to the point. Well, okay, some people are just going to go, okay, well, I'll sacrifice the better graphics and just go to the original because the original has the better atmosphere, it has the better story because the characters that haven't been changed. I'll just go to the original one. And it's like, I suppose it's like the Romulus thing. Again, I haven't seen the film, but clearly you feel that it's attempting to be a love letter. It's trying to sort of recapture the magic of the first film. And you look at a certain scene and it goes, see, it's like the other scene in the first one. And then there comes a point to it was like, well, if it's a sort of poor man's version of the first one, I might as well go and watch the first one then. If you're just sort of trying to, there's nothing wrong with trying to sort of recapture the magic. Because if anything, I encourage that. I'm always encouraging that. I'm always saying, whether it's a movie or a game, well, clearly the first one worked well and people loved that, so try and stick to what made it good, but add to it. That's the whole point of a sequel or video games. The second and the third one, in theory, are supposed to be better because you've had more time to improve upon it. You've had more time to build it up. So really, in theory, of course, it doesn't always work like that, but it's a movie. The second and the third one really should be better. But of course, it doesn't because they dilute it for whatever reason. They change things. They just completely upend the story. But it's a recurring trend that is rife in this day and age, 2024. Remake again. The whole industry now is just remakes, pointless sequels, and terrible adaptations, with the occasional good gem in there. But unfortunately, they get lost because there's actually some good. Dune Part 2. Those two movies I thought were fantastic. But again, people will talk about them for a little while, but then when there's something to mourn about again, that gets airtime, and it's unfortunate because the good stuff generally gets swept aside because it's just so much badness. It's hard to uplift the good stuff when the industry is rife. Just not good enough. Just not good enough
it's
movies.
Just great, it is. They're not bringing in the talent they should be bringing in. And it's also great as well because they expect us then to part with money for the crap that they're actually throwing out there. But we're heading towards the end of the stream now. We're going to be finishing up in about 4 minutes or so. But, this is, look, it's clear that there's some movement, all right, in the direction that, we're going to start making movies again that just entertain. And I think Deadpool and Wolverine were case in example of that. The problem is, though, you know, if you analyze that movie right really deeply, I mean, the writing is not the most stellar. Let's be honest. And you see, we only latched onto it because obviously there's no real politics in it or art, and it was just, you know, gave us a taste of what, you know, Deadpool's all about. And in fairness, Deadpool and Wolverine, I mean, putting Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together is absolutely genius anyway. But look, we'll get there. I just wish it was a little bit faster because I'm sick of shit after shit after shit after shit. I'm bored now. So yeah. Anyway, we will wrap it up there. I'll let Cinnamon do his usual shouts because I know Cinnamon's been doing. Oh, by the way, just before we do, I saw the little photographs you sent me as well, man. Delighted for you. Do you get to see him all the time?
Oh no, I wish. We had like a little. For those who don't know, for those who are wondering what I'm even going to talk about, we had a little for my team. We had a little open day training session. Sometimes clubs will do it where instead of having their training session at like, you have it was you got Carrington, isn't it? It's your training.
Yeah, Carrington. Yeah.
Most clubs obviously will have a training ground, so instead of doing the training there, they'll sometimes host it at the stadium. So then people can go and watch initiative because it's summer holidays, isn't it? 6-week holidays for the kids. So it's a good little initiative by the club to sort of host it there, just to get people out, just something to do for the day, really. Go and watch them train, and the players came over and signed some autographs for the kids and got some pictures taken. I thought, well, I'm a big kid, I'll go over. I was with my family, it wasn't just me. So yeah, we met Michael Carrick and we met some of the players, and yeah, we took some big photos inside the stadium and outside the stadium. But yeah, it was a nice day of it, really. And it was free, so, something, again, why not? Something to do for the day. It was weird because the kids kept asking him, oh, who's better, Messi or Ronaldo? And he said Ronaldo. I was like, well, obviously you're going to say that, aren't you? You play with him. It'd be a bit funny if you didn't say that. But yeah, it was a good day. And it was, all right, nice to meet him. Friendly. They all were, actually. They all seemed quite genuinely happy enough to be there, take pictures. And I mean, to be so you should be, really. But yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah, it was a lovely photograph, I have to say. It was nice to see Michael Carrick smiling as well. So yeah, that's deadly. Manchester United do the odd open training session as well. They allow certain streamers in to actually film some of the training sessions, and I think that is good for fans as well. But we'll leave the football because people will start giving out to us because they don't like us talking about football here. So I'll get you to do your channel shout out. I've got a meeting coming up now, so I'm out the door now literally after this. It's a busy couple of I'm gonna say a busy couple of weeks, but I didn't want to let you down by not streaming, so I'd rather have a stream out there even if it's early. People can go back and obviously watch it. But Cinnamon, let everybody know what you have coming up.
Well, I did say, didn't I, that I'd have something maybe up on Saturday, but one thing led to another. I've just lost track of time, so I'm going to maybe try and get something out maybe this week. Maybe, like I said before, try and get at least one video out per week. I think that's more than reasonable. Maybe a stream, talk about some of the nonsense that seems to plague everything we touch. But yeah, so that's my channel, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Slowly getting there, we're closer to 100 subscribers, which again it's a humble start. I don't know where they all came from. I've got 2 accounts really, so I've got to be careful because technically the account I'm using right now is the private one. So if I was to go on the channel one and I was to comment on here, I wouldn't have the moderation thing. So yeah, I mean, if PD was here, he'd probably put it in the chat. But yeah, so make sure if it does say Cinnamon Toast Crunch, make sure it actually has videos on it and not the other one. Although it should come up because surely the algorithm should promote that. But yeah, anyway, Cinnamon Toast Crunch and same name on X as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And I am back here on this channel tomorrow. And of course, I will be joined again by with Cinnamon, and we'll be joined with Queen Charlotte and PD Rich. So join us for that, and then we have the membership stream on Sunday. So come and join me for those. I am streaming over on the other channel at 7 p.m. the Irish Zone. Get it off your chest if you're interested in politics. And yeah, it's been very busy. Now I'm off out the door, but before I go off out the door, I'm going to play the trailer. So thank you, everybody, for joining us in the channel. It was a little bit early one. I hope you haven't enjoyed it. It's been an interesting conversation. Obviously, you know, a couple of people were asking me about my opinion on Alien Romulus anyway. So I watched The Drunk. So yeah, there you go. Job done. Mission accomplished. Listen, it's the only way I'm going to get through shit movies. So we'll leave it there.
Final note, just to squeeze in, maybe the tide is turning, because clearly, if they've cancelled the Acolyte season 2, Leslie Headley, whatever her name is not getting that second season. Clearly, it's working. You know, let them know. In your droves, don't sit there on the fence. Don't be the silent majority. Let your feelings be known. And you never know. Clearly, you might be one.
You still have the power. Anyway, see you later, guys. Have a good enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And we shall talk to you for the next one. Bye-bye.